With those Navy SEALs in their mission to get Osama bin Laden, NBC's George Lewis is at the Naval Special Warfare Center. That's in Coronado, California. George, good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Matt. Behind me, you can see the buildings that house the SEALs training compound. The people inside here politely declined our requests for interviews today. But as the SEALs are fond of saying, we are the quiet professionals. Their missions are shrouded in secrecy, their names and faces unknown to the public. But the reputation of the U.S. Navy SEALs as the very best of America's elite warriors has never been higher. The operation that resulted in the death of Osama bin Laden is only the latest, most noteworthy chapter in the story of a legendary fighting force. And it all starts here with a high-intensity training course designed to push SEAL candidates to their limit in scenarios that test mental toughness, physical fitness, and extreme courage. Whether on land, in the air, or underwater, SEALs have to demonstrate their ability to stay calm and focused under fire.
Whether it's parachuting, diving, hooded box drill, or just a scenario change-up that's delivered to a platoon as they go through an exercise, all those things make you much more capable and much more likely to survive the unforeseen when you get overseas.
In this exercise, SEALs are taught to react quickly in a dark environment. As the hoods are pulled off their heads, they have just seconds to assess the situation and respond accordingly. SEAL teams have carried out missions in Afghanistan since shortly after 9/11, and in 2009 pulled off the spectacular rescue of American merchant captain Richard Phillips, who'd been taken hostage by Somali pirates.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Thank you.
One drink to the SEALs.
One drink to the SEALs.
Back here in Coronado, at a bar owned by a former SEAL, a special feeling of pride and gratitude at the news of bin Laden's death.
You can always count on the Navy SEALs to do, and the Special Forces to do all the hard jobs. And it's very thankless because, you can't exactly name who they were, but pretty sure they're proud of what they just did.
The SEALs don't expect parades or medals. In fact, not even their families know the details of what they do while deployed overseas.
Well, there's a lot of times, too, when they say, well, I can't talk about that. And, we don't know half the stuff, but what they can share, they do when they get home.
Rear Admiral Ed Winters, in charge of the SEALs, sent out this email. Today, we should all be proud. That handful of courageous men of strong will and character have changed the course of history. The fight is not over. Because the SEALs, those quiet professionals, operate in secret, the identities of the people in the bin Laden operation may never be known, may never be recognized publicly for their heroism. But wherever the fight leads now, rest assured that the SEALs and the other members of the Special Forces community will be right there on the front lines. Matt?
George Lewis, we appreciate it. Thank you very much. Eric Greitens is a former Navy SEAL and the author of The Heart and the Fist, The Education of Humanitarian, The Making of a Navy SEAL. NBC's counterterrorism analyst Michael Sheehan started his career in the Army Special Forces. Guys, good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Let me start with you, Eric. Yeah. The level of anxiety. Once they find out who their target is, this Navy SEAL Team 6, get into these choppers, what's the level of anxiety that was likely to be aboard those choppers?
So the word is that when they heard that bin Laden was their target, there was a huge cheer that went up. These guys were excited for the mission. They'd been practicing for it for months. They'd been relentlessly going through every possible contingency. Obviously, adrenaline was high, extraordinarily excited. But these are professionals who are ready for this operation.
You talk about every possible contingency, and I was so impressed to learn that the backup plan for that chopper being disabled was well in place. They had two choppers coming in, 40 minutes afterward.
Yes.
How do they go through all the possible things that can go wrong?
So these SEALs are the elite of the elite, some of the best commandos in the world. And they practice time and time again, and they'll run different scenarios where different things go wrong, and they practice adjusting. They know that they can never know for certain what's going to happen on the target, but they know their objective was to kill bin Laden, grab that intelligence, and get out.
40 minutes entirely on the ground. That's how long it took to get in and get out. You're operating in a sovereign nation, could be hostile. You're expecting to meet resistance inside that compound. How important is speed?
Speed is critical. Three key principles for them, Matt, in planning this operation. Number one is speed. 2 is surprise, and 3, violence of action. They wanted to make
overwhelming force.
Overwhelming force. Make sure that the enemy doesn't know you're coming, then hit them fast and hit them hard.
On a small group level, this is shock and awe.
This is shock and awe. Yes.
Michael, it occurred to me when I first heard about this operation, how it was carried out, helicopters are noisy.
Yes.
You've got to assume Osama bin Laden is expecting someday to be attacked. You have to assume there are ways to get out of that compound, like tunnels that they may not have known about. Is it safe to assume there were other people on the ground, our people on the ground, that were helping to secure that compound even as those SEALs were flying in?
Well, Matt, helicopters are not only noisy, they're also dangerous. They fall out of the sky. They're crashes. President Carter saw that in his rescue attempt in Tehran, 1980. We crashed a helicopter in an aircraft. Mogadishu, 1993. A Black Hawk goes down. Disaster ensues. I would imagine there were people on the ground ready for any of those types of contingencies. Somebody trying to escape, having to exfiltrate people out, whether there's a crash. All those things were in place. I would imagine, from my experience in past operations, probably some operatives on the ground.
And perhaps still on the ground.
Perhaps.
Those
but
would
by
be
now,
slower to get out than the SEALs, obviously, which are in and out in 40 minutes.
Exactly.
Trust. Clearly, we didn't trust the Pakistanis. We didn't share one piece of information about thinking he was there and conducting this mission. Does it speak for itself?
It does, and there's a lot of questions and answers that need to be made by the Pakistani government in the days ahead. Clearly, they're a key partner for us here and a flawed partner.
2 final questions, one for you, Mike, one for you, Eric. Mike, I get this image, this mental image of the unsung heroes here, that there were people for years sitting at computers, filing names into a program, locations, dates, cold cup of coffee and a stale donut.
That's right.
Are there those, kind of like the cops who go after cold cases?
That's right, Matt. The CIA is, everyone has fun beating up on them when things go bad. In this case, it went well. The unsung heroes are the collectors of information, that person up in the mountains in Pakistan trying to find an address or a person, and the person back in a basement of some office trying to piece together the dots. They're normally forgotten. In this case, I hope we do remember to recognize them. They were as crucial as the brave fighters that went through the door.
And Eric, we may never know the names of the members of SEAL Team 6 that carried this out, but within the organization, within the Navy SEALs, how will they be regarded in the years to come? Where does this fall in the history of accomplishments of the Navy SEALs?
They will be honored and revered. For a lot of the men who undertook this mission, this was not just a courageous action on a particular day. Keep in mind that these men, many of them, had been fighting this battle for 9.5 years. They'd made sacrifices. Their families had made sacrifices. They'd lost comrades. Other comrades came off the battlefield wounded and disabled. For them, this wasn't just about hitting a target. It was about justice.
The guy who fired the shot that killed bin Laden?
He's a hero in my mind, and I think for all Americans.
Eric, Michael, thank you both. I appreciate you being here.